Welcome back to Hot Takes with myself, Terry Flewers, and Mr. Mark Goldbridge. Are you still smiling after that brilliant victory over the Arsenal?
Of course I am. I mean, I hate the Glazers and I hate Ineos and I hate Jason Wilcox. But, you know, as I said, you can want your team to win and want regime change at the top. It's really easy. I'm not a bloody TikToker. I don't swipe left and right and have an opinion that's just, I'm not a bloody Sith Lord. I don't deal in absolutes. So Glazers out, Ineos out, Wilcox out, and Carrick's at the wheel. I'm comfortable with that because even if he does get the job, he's still got to work under these knobheads, and they'll fuck him up. You know, it's like walking down a dark street and finding 6 big blokes with baseball bats. He's going to get fucked up if he gets that job.
Yeah,
it's hard to think. It's hard to imagine Wilcox and Barada fucking anybody up with a baseball bat, but you know what I mean. They'll pay someone to do it.
Nah, Barada's got that look. You know, when you watch those like American, California-based gangster films, if he had like a oversized white T-shirt on and baggy shorts, he could pass for like an essay. He's got that sort of, his name could be Juan in one of those movies, tattoos across the chest. That he could pull it off. Wilcox, not so much, but it was beautiful. I cannot lie. David here says that Ineos signings won us the last 2 games, Mark. Respect, please.
David, was that saying? David speaks shit, or football apparently. Yeah, David, don't waste my time on a Tuesday morning. We've got better things to talk about than that shit. I mean, Amrim signed those players as well. And how's Agate going? I thought he was an Ineos signing. How's Xerxes going? How's that going? Dorgu was definitely an Amrim signing, and Burmo was definitely an Amrim signing. Cunha was definitely an Amrim signing. So,
is this news true that Dorgu's out for 10 weeks?
Yeah, just covered it on the United Stand, 100%. I see. Well, this is live reaction for Terry now. I've worked through
this. I knew he'd hurt himself a little bit because there was nothing said yesterday. I was just hoping it was that's terrible.
Just come out in the last half hour.
That is typical. I just blame Jason Wilcox. Wilcox done something. Wilcox must be to blame. But no, on a real one, it's typical United. We just get up ahead of steam. We get ourselves into the title race, and then Dorgu gets injured. It's terrible.
The title's gone now. We're not winning the title anymore. We'll give it up. But no, we'll be all right. You can put Cunha in there, who obviously deserves to be starting anyway. But I think it's more what I was saying on the United Stand show is that this is like, when you look at Wilcox and Barada at the moment, they're probably walking around like, we told you so. But come on, like, you can't predict 2 weeks ago that Carrick's going to beat Man City and Arsenal and Liverpool are going to drop off. If we'd have lost both those games and Liverpool had beat Burnley, it'd be a very different situation. That's not strategic. That's just luck. Give the praise. The strategy is Carrick's, not theirs. This is why in the last few days, they've got to get a midfielder in. Because Dorgu we can cover off. But if that happens to Mainu, we're screwed. And we've got Champions League football in our hands now. Liverpool fans are conceding it, and they're rightly so. If we don't get Champions League football because of injuries, because they didn't back the manager in January, that'll be a disgrace. Because I think Carrick will get Champions League football if he can keep everybody fit. But it's a risk, and we shouldn't be taking that risk.
I'm gutted for Dorgu. I really, really am, because he just found form and the injuries happen. But, there is also young Lacey that can go into that position as well. And we're looking very, very good. And a little bit tongue in cheek before we go to our first clip. I did see this.
Who's Rio Ferdinand? Is that meant to be Ferdinand on the title?
Oh, have I spelled his name wrong?
You put Rio Ferdinand.
Ah, that's dyslexia there. But yeah, I mean, there we go. Thank you for pointing that out. Rio Ferdinand. That's updated. Thank you, Goldbridge. Right. But I did see this that made me a little bit happy. Like, United are responsible for 5 of the title-winning comebacks from 10+ points in the Premier League era, which got, a lot of people very excited. It made me more just think, Fergie is definitely the GOAT. The fact he's won 5 titles from being 10 points plus behind in the Premier League era. But Dorgu's out.
You're a Class A knobhead if you think we're winning the league.
Oh, man, I agree. I would say the United fans sometimes control our own narrative better. Say we've got a chance of top 4. Don't allow it to be, we could push for the title, because then the media will start attacking us when we only come 4th or 5th. But I think we are getting top 4 now. Well, top 5.
I'm surprised actually Rio Ferdinand hasn't done a little clip on that yet, because that's exactly the sort of shit he'd spew. for clicks. So yeah, don't tell Rio Ferdinand. I think he'll be there going, Man United, I'm telling you, get the pen and paper. In fact, get the engraving on the title. We're winning it. 21. I'm telling you. Yeah, we're not winning the
David here says winning the league is the only way Carrick gets the job.
Yeah, David does speak shit, doesn't he, really? Like, if we finish second, third, or fourth, he'll get. I think he's going to get the job anyway. Just there, I'm 90% sure he's getting the job because he's cheap and he'll do as he's told. So I want him to get the job because we win loads of games and we play good football. I think this ownership will want to give him the job because he's cheap and they can manipulate him. And, yeah.
Let me ask you this question then, devil's advocate. Let's say we do win, say 65, 70% of our games from, it was already won 2, he's on 100%. But
which I think he will.
Yeah, let's say he finishes, again, I'm not worried about the win percentage. I said this on the United Stand on Friday. It is, what if we are the better team in almost every game, we win the vast majority, finish third or fourth, beat a lot of the good teams, and we look like we're purring? Would your mind change then and go, well, at least we've seen that we're playing really well. It isn't a 3 or 4 game great run. He gets because the mistake with Ollie was giving him the deal in the March. I think we should have waited until the end of the season. So if we get to the end of the season and we are playing really, really well, players are happy, goals are going in. Because the most impressive thing, and it hasn't been mentioned by the mainstream media at all, it's 2 games in a row. We haven't conceded a chance in open play. A single chance, like a big chance, that is, if that makes sense. And for me, that's more impressive than the goals, than anything else we're doing. And my view is, yeah, well, this is why the test is there. It's why I'm not talking about Carrick for the job yet, because the Fulham game's different, the Spurs game's different, the West game's get different. My view is just if we maintain this level of quality for the rest of the season, then I don't even say give him the job. I'm just saying he has to be considered properly as opposed to just an Ineos, Glinios puppet boy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it, and like what I refuse to do is start singing songs about buses and saying get a contract out, give him whatever numbers he wants, and let him sign it. I said before the Arsenal win, I'd assess it after 10 games in Arsenal in April, and I agree with you. Regardless of whatever happens, I would still interview other candidates and then make a decision. I just don't want to see us doing, forget the plan for the summer. Let's just give it to Carrick. Because I think that's, like I said last night as an analogy, it's a little bit like meeting a girl and going, I think she's the one. And then you marry them and then you go out and you go, oh no, that was the one. Like, before you settle,
I agree.
Go and see what's out there. But I think that what I would add to that is I think some people think I don't want Carrick. I don't want Carrick at the moment. Because I don't think we should go for Carrick at the moment. I think we should. I still am very locked in on what's the best manager we can get in the summer. Could we get Enrique? Could we get Tuchel? Could we get Ancelotti? And that has to be the right choice. But in April, you've got a bigger set of evidence. What I will say is, though, it scares the shit out of me going with an interim because statistically, over 90% of the time, it's a mistake. Because being an interim coach, Patrick Lynch, who I'm sure is watching, said it on the United Stand yesterday. The difference between an interim and a permanent is night and day. As an interim, it's short term, make everybody happy, make it really simple, focus on results. As a long-term manager, you're looking at next season, you're looking at So it terrifies me to do it, and I'm really glad I don't have to make that decision because I'm not pro Ineos, but that decision. You're almost damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It's a tough one to make.
I do agree. And this is why I think we need to be open-minded. And that's all I've said the whole time is open-minded. There has to be a world. An example may be Luis Enrique and Ancelotti say no. So you might be forced more into that position. And that's why I'm someone that's open-minded about it. But I do agree because when Michael Carrick, if he gets the job, it's a 3-year deal, he then starts making decisions about those players' future. Where at the moment, every player loves him because he's there just to see him through to the end of the season. When he starts to drop players or starts to say to the board, I don't want to play Luke Shaw anymore, we need to move on from Maguire as examples, that's when players become despondent, leaks happen, dynamics change, and you've got to the hope is the due diligence is being done.
Ollie, people forget about Ollie. I just didn't want Ollie to get the job again because I felt a hypocrite, and I know a lot of people did. And I was like, I can't have Ollie back because I said sack him at the end. I can't be there going Ollie's at the wheel again. It just feels wrong. But some people didn't say that. But if you think about Ollie, all the players played for Ollie. Oh, I love Ollie, love Ollie. By the end, it was the training's embarrassing. There was leaks about, the training's so basic. You know, he has, and this is trouble. We have been down this road before, but that doesn't mean it won't happen with a new manager as well.
No, I agree. I do agree. Speaking of Rio, we're gonna we're gonna start with a little bit of fun first. Our first clip's gonna be a little bit of fun. It's an oldie. It's not an oldie. We've had him on before, but this is a good one. Let's take. Hang on, that's why. So it's a new setup. It's a new setup, a new thing they're doing on stream, and I didn't have it right. But here we go. Right, let's do this.
Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar, who's that? Ramos, who's this? Conte, it's Conte! N'Golo Conte! It's Conte! That's a disgrace! I was flying theatre! N'Golo Conte! I was sent out of Argo! I don't believe this thing! Mbappe! It's Kylian Mbappe! That's a disgrace! Mbappe! Kelly. It's Mbappe, you son of a bitch! It's cheating the hell out of me! Mbappe! What else could it be? It's Mbappe! I know my footballers! That's Mbappe! I give up. This is giving me... I give up. That's a disgrace.
Never did get it in. He never did get it in.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, don't try. If you've got a Northern Irish accent, you've got to steer clear. You've got to steer clear of these games. You really, really do.
Mbappe.
It's a disgrace. We've already mentioned Mr. Fairyland today. Let's take another look at what he had to say yesterday in this clip here.
You can't, you lot are just lucky, man. Arsenal are lucky. You lot are so lucky that everyone else is so shit and inconsistent. City are inconsistent, going through a transition with their team. They bought a new team, basically. Liverpool have gone and spent £400-500 million and gone backwards. Do you know what I mean? Chelsea are still building. Man United were in the doldrums and just starting to build a bit of confidence now, but still miles off it. So, I don't know, you lot are lucky, man, because if anyone was, if Aston Villa were doing a Leicester and went on a mad run, I think the problem with you guys...
It would have been done by now. It would have been done, Rio.
It could have been done by...
What do you make of Rio's claim here? Do you think Arsenal are lucky this season that there's no other good teams in the Premier League? This kind of sort of take has come out a lot recently that Arsenal are not particularly good. They're only really top because everybody else is doing badly. What's your view on that, mate?
Well, it's factually incorrect, which is typical of Rio, really. It's just, sawdust for brains who just says stuff for clicks. He's not speaking facts. And some people in the chat are saying he is speaking facts. He's not speaking facts because they're only 3 points behind what Liverpool had last year, and Liverpool were miles ahead of everybody else as far as I was concerned. So where he would be right is saying that Arsenal are playing very pragmatic football and should be further ahead than they are. But factually, they're only 3 points behind what Liverpool had last season. So they're not shit. They're not, their points accumulation isn't shit. It's slightly below what Liverpool did last year. And this time last year, we were saying Liverpool were worthy champions. The issue is the way that they're playing football. And I know, speaking to Robbie yesterday and for some Arsenal fans, they totally agree. You look at their last 3 games, they've taken 2 points from 9. Really, they should have took 7. So they're 5 down on where they should be, which would give them a much bigger bit. They'd have a 9-point gap. They're making hard work of a low quality season. But that doesn't mean that they're lucky, because last season they'd be 3 points off top and they'd be in a title race. So they're slightly off where they should be. And that's because they're not, Arteta is trying to win the league like Tony Pulis instead of moving the ball quickly. I mean, I think I think Arsenal were so easy to play against on Sunday. They're so slow on the ball. It's like watching, well, not surprising, but it's like watching Pep a few years ago. Man City don't even play like this anymore. It's pragmatic, it's slow. Saka's one of the best wingers in the world, but he takes so many touches. Odegaard, so many touches. It's probe. They won't move the ball quickly. And they got what they deserved on Sunday. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans are like, Arteta needs to let the handbrake off. And I totally agree with that. I've been saying it for months. They move the ball too slowly. You're never going to get the best out of Gyökeres, regardless of whether he's a flop or not, if you're moving the ball so slowly into the box and reliant on set pieces and defence. So look, I think if you're an Arsenal fan, you've got to demanding better. You've got some ridiculously talented players: Odegaard, Saka, Madueke, Eze. They've got so many good players, and they're not letting them free because they're just going so pragmatic. But I don't think they're lucky. They'd be in a title race in any year. Look at the points total over the last few years. They'd be in a title race in every year of the last 5. So, no, I don't think they're lucky. I just think they're in danger of squandering a title that should be theirs. I do agree Liverpool are inexplicably shit. I do agree that Man City are going through transition, but you could almost say Arsenal aren't lucky because they've strategized that. Arsenal have finished second for the last 3 years, and every year they've done things in the market that make them better the next year. It's just been a slow process, but they're not lucky. I think lucky would be everybody being fucking shit and Chelsea winning the league when they're not really ready to win it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't like this. You're lucky because this team's not as good as it once was, because that logic, again, if we extrapolate it, you can just start applying that to everybody's legacy. You could easily...
Well, Leicester were lucky to win it because everybody was shit that year.
Yeah, I mean, that's an example of it.
Well, it's not, but they weren't lucky. They were consistently the best team in the league.
No, exactly. But you could even go back further. You could say, well, Fergie only started winning the league because the great Everton, Arsenal and Liverpool sides of the 80s and early 90s fell off. Yeah. So again, it's when you, this is why I don't play these games. I think it's nice for a little bit of fun. You give Arsenal a bit of banter when you beat them. I did my fan channel reaction show, laughed at all the meltdowns. It's brilliant. But I always think longer term about the banter. Add the banter, yep, it's a bit of fun. But when I start seeing influential figures in the media, the mainstream media start pushing these narratives, I have to push back. And it's rarely about Arsenal directly. We need to be careful of the precedents we set because they will be used against us at other times. And I think the media has had an onslaught in the last 10 years to try and discredit everything Sir Alex Ferguson built at United. You literally have had the biggest radio station in the world consistently push a narrative that Fergie didn't influence any kind of mass change or didn't leave any lasting legacies within the English game. So we already know they're doing it. So I'm not going to sit there and perpetuate a narrative and push a narrative that I know for a fact will be used to undermine my own club's achievements. Equally, don't set yourself up for failure. You know, I've seen a lot of fans do this whole football's in the worst period in the history of the game, and some might believe it. I see others joining that bandwagon because they want to discredit Arsenal. The irony is, what if your team goes on to win a major trophy this year? Have you got to discredit it? I've seen Chelsea fans go at Arsenal saying teams like this that play pragmatically should never be allowed to win the Premier League. The guy that said it is sitting there with a poster of Jose Mourinho lifting the Premier League trophy in 2005. It's, again, you're damaging your own club's legacy by pushing bullshit. And that's where I get a little jaded with it. Like, have your fun, but banter can't be real serious talking points for me. But I think you're right with Rio. I think Rio is just saying what he said there. So it gets that kind of reaction.
It's shit punditry, isn't it? And I think with Rio, obviously he's played at a very high level. He's a United legend. But I think he's locked in this world of saying stupid things for clicks. And that's why a lot of people think he said, don't respect what he says. But look, I didn't respect what David Speaks Football says. I've said he speaks shit. But actually, this is a good take. He says Arsenal deserve to be where they are. They're not lucky, but it's anti-football. And I think that's a fair thing. I mean, I wouldn't call it anti-football, but I think you're right. I think they deserve to be where they are. They're not lucky. And in any other league, they'd be in a title race, absolutely confirmed. Their style of football is very pragmatic, though. And they're better than that. They're better than that. And against United, I think if I was an Arsenal fan, knowing the weaknesses of United, to sit there and keep probing for 90 minutes instead of actually moving the ball quicker and trying to exploit, I know our weaknesses, and they didn't do it. And I'm not about to mention them now because I don't want people to exploit it, but there are weaknesses to that United side, and it's certainly pace and moving the ball quick. And to go so slow in the final third was, well, you know, Martinez and Maguire and Shaw and Delo are going to love that, and Casemiro.
It's interesting because I think a big part of it is a mental block. I think they are very nervous in that dressing room right now in terms of winning the Premier League. Because if you look at their last 3 Premier League games, all of them, they've started like a freight train and then drifted away and become more pragmatic. They were moving the ball quickly in that first 20 minutes. They did that against Liverpool. They did it away against Nottingham Forest, but they seemed to get slower as the game went on. But if you watch them in the League Cup semi-final, if you watch them in the Champions League games, the ball's being moved quicker. They're attacking, fewer touches, creating more chances. It's almost as if they go into these cup games and the Champions League and that pressure and expectation is removed from them. So as much as I get what everyone's saying, this is what I keep saying to Gooners, because I want them to stop City winning the league. So I do want them to win the league title because, again, there's no way we're winning 17 games in a row and we're winning the league. I think it's impossible. But I think they've got to encourage their players more than get on their backs. I've seen some of the abusive messages that Zubimendi was sent yesterday, and all I can think is that's not going to help your team win a league title. I think too much is made of a handful of disgruntled Real Madrid fans smashing car windows. The idea that those Madrid fans that smash their players' car windows are the reason that Madrid are successful, it must be the most deluded, uneducated, amoeba-level thinking I've ever heard. Like, those are a fraction of the sport. You know, that's not the reason the players go, we better work harder in training, guys. Why? I don't want my window being smashed. It's crazy to think it. On Arsenal, is another take I want to play here. This is from Jamie Carragher yesterday.
Stop them winning the Premier League, but I don't think it will this season. They don't have a genuine superstar at the top end of the pitch. They don't have someone who's going to do what Salah did last season, or what Haaland did for Manchester City, or what a Hazard did for Chelsea. They lack that player. And what's really interesting is halfway through the season, or if you picked it right now, I picked a team of the season so far. When have you ever seen a team at the top of the table who've been a top by 6 or 7 points, but if you were picking the best team in the Premier League so far, you wouldn't have one of their players in the front 4? That is not normal. That would never happen. The best team in the league would always have at least 1, maybe 2 players in the team of the season. And Arsenal don't have that right now. And that plays into the fact that they don't have a genuine superstar, as I said, at the top end of the pitch.
I mean, I disagree. And I agree and I disagree. Because I think to say what I've said and then agree with Carragher, I'd be a hypocrite, right? So I agree with him. It's strange that there isn't an Arsenal player in the front 4 in a team of the year. But I disagree with him that they don't have a superstar. This is the pragmatism of Arteta. Saka in a Liverpool team last year, all right, might not be as good as Salah, but he put the numbers in, right? Odegaard in a Man City side that was scoring loads of goals would be playing really, really well. But they are taking too many touches and they are too pragmatic in the final third. It must be so tiring as an Arsenal attacker because you get the ball, you're always up against 8 players. You're working for corners, set pieces. Then they're not moving the ball quick enough. So you're not going to have a player in the team of the year in the final 4. And you're not going to have a superstar if every time they get the ball, they're taking 4 or 5 touches and they're facing 8 players. Like, that's not going to happen. And Arsenal fans might go, wow, what we're supposed to do? We're playing against the low block. It's not like Liverpool were turning up against teams last year or Man City the year before and teams weren't trying to defend. It's how quick you move the ball. You watch Arsenal, and hopefully it's going to stop. You watch Arsenal get the ball and watch how slow they move the ball to the front. Like, you're not going to have it. They have got superstars, but the way they're playing, Hazard in this team, Salah in this team, Haaland in this team, they wouldn't be scoring the goals. And I suppose that's the way of flipping it.
Yeah, listen, I hear that. I think they do need to move the ball quicker, and that's an issue with the team. And I was talking to a few Gooners last night that were on our show, and they all see it different ways. Some of them think it's the players kind of playing within themselves. Others think it's the manager's instructions. I happen to believe it's somewhere in the middle, because there are times you watch Arteta screaming at the players to move the ball quicker, play with a little bit more tempo, get up the pitch, especially in the second halves against Man United and against Liverpool. So there is that element there. But where I disagree with Carragher is, I mean, it all depends upon what your definition, I suppose, of a superstar is. The idea that Saka's not a player of that level, I think, is crazy. Every underlying number for Saka this year, if you like stats, is high, barring the GA. What I find very interesting is all the eye test merchants, though, are suddenly caring about the GA of a player, because it isn't very high for once. But
people are obsessed with trying to ridicule Saka at the moment. It's been going on
crazy,
for months. Yeah. It's like they're trying to rewrite history. I mean, this is a player that missed the penalty in a Euros final with Sancho and Rashford. Their careers fell off, and he's got better and better mentally ever since. Look, I think Saka's a fantastic player. He does keep hold of the ball for too long. And whether that's him or Arteta, he does keep hold of the ball too long this season, and that's why he's not getting goals and assists. But when he's on it, he's a superstar. But but they're moving the ball too slow.
No, I agree. I mean, Wally Waldo here says GA matters when you are a forward. I'm not disagreeing with that. Make sure you listen to what I'm saying very
That's why
clearly.
He's not in the team of the year, isn't it?
Well, yeah, he's goals and assists are too low. He's creating the chances, they're not being taken. So I don't blame him necessarily for the assists, the strikers. I mean, you've got to remember, Arsenal have created the third highest amount of big chances in the league this year. Only Brentford on 70 and City on 73 have created more big chances. Arsenal created 68. So players are missing these. All of their attackers would have more assists if more of those chances were being taken. But Saka isn't scoring enough goals, and he is accountable for that. What I'm saying is that the eye test merchants, who whenever you have said Saka's top class because look, he has 20 goals this year, would say, what else is he doing barring the goals? This year, he's sort of doing a lot of the other things. He's dribbling, his dribble completion's very good. Chance creation is there. He's a constant threat. There's loads of great things that he's done, but he isn't getting the goals. And now suddenly those same people are saying he's fallen off because the goals are not there. Where I think everyone else that actually understands football and isn't playing a game to try and discredit him can see it as he isn't washed, he isn't finished, he isn't awful. He's just not having a good season in terms of converting those opportunities into goals. And that in itself should be ridiculed. But people can't do that nowadays. We can't compartmentalize and go, the finishing is off. We have to go, the player's washed, the player's finished, the player's over the hill. He was always overrated. And then what happens is you end up muddying the water and you don't have an honest and good conversation about the issues Saka's going through this year. And it becomes about, I remember someone doing it to Ronaldo on one of my shows once, and I had to kick him off. Because he wasn't moving as well as he used to because he was 38. And they were like, see, do you remember I told you, Terry, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, how overrated he was his whole career? Look at him now. And I had to kick him off. So you can't look at a 38-year-old Ronaldo and say I was right about him when he was 25, but that's what people are doing, and for me it's a little jarring personally, because they're not criticizing the things here and now. It's about trying to prove a bad take of theirs right from 5 years ago. The same as I had a guy all last season sending me a clip of where he said that Alexander Isak was this top class player, and he kept on saying, Terry, I told you. And in the end, I deleted the clip because it was annoying me that he was misrepresenting it everywhere. So I thought I'd get him back. What he said is not that Isak is a top-class player. He said that he is miles clear of Erling Haaland. This was 5 years ago. And even as good as he was last season, he wasn't miles clear of Erling Haaland. And it's the petty point scoring that it is jarring for me personally. Let's go to another clip here. This is our friend Simon Jordan at TalkSport.
No one's talking about Arsenal winning a treble. I mean, Arsenal are top of the Champions League by a mile. They're in the League Cup semi-final, and they've won the first leg. They're in the FA Cup. They're top of the Premier League. If this were another club, if this were Liverpool, the media circus would be saying, there's a treble on here. There's a quadruple on here. No one's mentioned anything. And it's because Arsenal have created a narrative for themselves 3 years ago. It's like anything. The first impression is the one that lasts longest. Arsenal bottled the Premier League 3 years ago, and until they get across the line, it's a very easy and lazy go-to, which is they haven't got the mental strength. This is a completely different Arsenal side. And a better manager.
It's funny because I I wondered when the mainstream, you know, like working in this space, you come up with these things and then it's just how many weeks or months or days before the mainstream do it. Literally was saying this last week. I said, why aren't people talking about Arsenal winning a quadruple or a treble? Because they're in everything. And yet, if it was Liverpool or Man City, Lineker and co would have been talking about it from Christmas. So I'm not surprised Simon Jordan spoke about it because he's quite switched on and probably, you know, fair play to him. But I did mention it last week. And he is right. It's because there is this perception that even in the Arsenal fan base, well, we haven't won the title in 20 years. We've never won the Champions League. So how can you use the word treble? Which is right, but it doesn't change the fact that we should be having the conversation. They're top of the Champions League. They're top of the Premier League. They're in the Carabao Cup and they're in the FA Cup. And any other season, anybody else should be saying they could win the treble. The only reason we're not is because, well, it's Arsenal. They're the bridesmaids. They're never the bride. But they are, but they've never been in this position before. They've never ran away with the Champions League and they've never been this strong in the Premier League. They're massive favourites. I know they've been top in the Premier League in the last 2 or 3 years, but they weren't really favourites. Everyone was like, can they do it? Can they do it? They're favourites. If they don't win the Premier League, this is, I don't think some of the titles Arsenal haven't won in the last 3 years are bottle jobs. I think that's just bantering. This would be a bottle job. I've seen Arsenal fans last year go, well, if he does, he should be sacked. He's bottled it. And I was like, he hasn't had the striker. He hasn't had the bench. He has got the striker. He has got the bench. This is the perfect opportunity. If he doesn't win the league this year, that is a different definition of bottle job. But they should be looking to win the treble. And if it's in their heads, we can't do it because we're bottle jobs, then I'd be very surprised by that. So, look, we should be having that conversation. The only thing I would say is that Liverpool were top of the Champions League and got knocked out by PSG. It's a tough tournament to win. People were telling me Man City were in crisis last week. People were doing Man City. I mean, I'm the king of in crisis videos. And I said, I'm not doing a Man City in crisis video because they're not in fucking crisis. They've had an injury crisis, but they've just bought Gehi and Semenyo. They're definitely not in crisis. They'll bounce back and they will have a go at this title. But no, I agree. I think Arsenal will win the league, Terry. And I don't know about the Champions League, but I bet they'll win 2 trophies this year. I think they will win 2 trophies.
They've got a great chance. I sort of, my issue with the mainstream media is you had Sky, and no disrespect to Lee Hendry, I don't think it's his own thoughts. I think it's, you know as well as I do, the producers, we want you to speak about this. This is what we're talking about. Carragher did an article about it. It's when it's framed as they've got to do a treble minimum. They've got to do a Premier League, Champions League double minimum. I don't like that talk because I think it diminishes how hard it is to do. And when you start talking about...
Well, they've never bloody done it. They've never won the Champions League.
Exactly. But on top of that, 2 English teams have done it in 100 and... Well, I don't know. The Champions League's not over 100 years old, but since the Champions League's been being played from like the late 40s, early 50s, so we're talking 80 odd years, it's been done twice by English teams. The great Liverpool teams in the 70s and 80s tried and fouled. You know, the brilliant Chelsea teams tried and fouled. Only Man United and only Man City have done it. So this idea that this Arsenal team has to do it as a minimum, I don't like that because I think you're disrespecting Sir Alex's treble-winning team and you're disrespecting Pep's treble-winning team by making it sound so flippant. But at the same time, they're also setting up this Arsenal team because they're putting out, there's this sort of narrative being pushed along the lines of it's European football's at its lowest level ever. Premier League's at its lowest level ever. So if they do complete the treble, it will be, yeah, but you did it in a shit era anyway. And that's probably half my problem. It's just the lack of seriousness in the conversation. But for me, I just think Arsenal are feeling those nerves right now, as I said earlier. They need their fans to get behind them. They've got to block out the noise and they've got to put their arms around them. And I likened it to this psychologically. You've got young kids like me, so you'll get this. How often do your kids come to you and say, "Oh, can I take your plate out, or can I take your cup out to the?" Like my son at the minute, he just wants to do everything for me. You know, it's quite nice because if I want a beer out the fridge, he goes and gets it. It's brilliant. But when he carries a glass out, sometimes I get a bit nervous. I'm like, okay, you got to teach him though. He's like, okay, I can take it. So I make him carry it properly. But I'm really nervous he's going to drop it and cut himself. But what I don't do is what the Arsenal fans are doing right now is stand over him the whole way going, oh, you're going to drop it. You're going to drop it. You're going to cut your feet off. You're going to cut yourself. Don't drop it. Oh, my God. If you drop it, we're in trouble. We're going to have to go to hospital. Because you know what? My son's going to drop it and cut himself. I think what you've got to do as Arsenal fans is relax a little bit more. Maybe even hold back in some of your actual thoughts, your intrusive thoughts, and say, come on, guys, we can do this.
But the problem is they've got people in their fan base who don't like Arteta, and I've always found it weird. And yes, it's a minority, but they do click virality. Like I saw it yesterday. Like, they've lost to Manchester United. It's their first loss at home this season. You do lose home games in a Premier League title winning season. Like, you do. It does happen. You do have days like that. It can happen. And it's like, yeah. And that's Arsenal fans. And like, look, maybe there are Arsenal fans out there that would rather not win the league with Arteta. He get replaced and you win it with the next manager. Maybe that's fine. But if you're an Arsenal fan that wants to win the league this year, trust me, we've been through it many, many times. Do not start piling pressure onto your team. You know, you've got to be the 12th man. And I think the Emirates has been brilliant at that for the last couple of years. The atmosphere has changed. And you can be disappointed, but maybe it's been so long that you've not been in a title race. I remember, like, United, I think it was the 99 season, and we were close with Arsenal. And we went away to Blackburn, and they were going to get relegated with Brian Kidd, and we were shit and we drew. And it was like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? But we did that loads of times. Like, you do drop silly points in a title race, and you've just got to go, look, experience shows you this will happen. You can't turn it into a major drama, because the players will feed off that in a title race. They will.
No, I totally and utterly agree. There is a funny video I'll show you. We'll do that at the end. We'll do super chats first, because they're kind of related to what we're talking about. Do you think stifling goalkeepers is anti-football?
Yeah, well, this started with Burnley and Luton, didn't it? When I think it was James Trafford who got fouled a couple of years ago, and they said play on, and ever since then it's a problem. I don't blame Arsenal for it. You know, there's a rule, and you can get around it. But what makes me laugh, and I'll just say this, is that you see two players going for a header on the halfway line, and if there's a slight nudge on the favourite person to win it, it's a foul. When it's a corner, 6 or 7 people can barge the goalkeeper, and it's not a foul. And I'm like, we need to change this, because I don't like crappy corners going in, like, you know, deflections here, there, and there. I don't mind a corner where centre-back gets up, heads it in the top corner. And look, it's one of the big things that Arsenal have an issue with, because they're so good at it. But we do need to protect goalkeepers, because I don't care what anybody says. If you're somebody trying to jump and catch something, you don't have stability on the ground. So if you're jumping and someone nudges you, you're catching a ball at the highest level of football. It's moving quick and it's curling, and then someone nudges you as you're in the air. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, look, I saw a suggestion yesterday, and I don't know how they even managed this, but someone just said, don't let anyone, including the defending team, inside the 6-yard box for a corner. So it's just clear for the goalkeeper. And again, I think that's too far. I don't quite know how you manage this. I don't see it as anti-football. I just see it as that's the rules, and teams are exploiting it to score goals, because teams will do anything to win. But yeah, I mean, if it's that you can't touch the goalkeeper on a corner, then a lot of these goals
basically foul a goalkeeper now. That's where it's gone.
Yeah, and no, I agree.
The rules have become that. It's PGMOL's fault. It's not Arsenal's fault.
But I do think the keepers have got away with it for years, where if you breathe on them, it was a foul. Where I do think you should be able to. I don't see why you can't. I don't see why, if the goalie's jumping to catch it and you're jumping to header it, if your shoulders clash and you're stronger, I don't see why that's a foul. But yet, if you do it with a defender and it's shoulder to shoulder, and you're stronger and you nudge them out of the way and you get your head to it and score, it isn't. So I'd just like some clarity on that. But I do agree with you. It's the PGMOL. Hot take, but with Dorgu injured, I'd start Lacey for an hour instead of Cunha this weekend. Keep the natural winger and Cunha super sub vibe going.
I get that. Cunha in. He deserves to start.
Cunha will start. I actually think we'll start with Šeško. I think Šeško will get a start up front this game as well, because the game's going to be very, very different. But that'll be a big talking point later on in the week. Final clip of the show this week. Let's take a look at this opening segment of it.
If Bruno Fernandes were to go, well, let's head into the sun. Star keen on move home. Cold Trafford. Palmer up for switch to Boyhood Club United. Boyhood Club, you can see there in set as a kid. Young Palmer in United top. There he is. Is he the answer then, James?
I mean, it's hard not to link these two stories, isn't it? Because if you are going to make a decision on Bruno Fernandes, he's 32 in September. United have made a habit in the past of handing out massive contracts to ageing players. Now, look, Bruno Fernandes seems to be at the top of his game right now, and obviously a talismanic figure. So I'm not necessarily saying he falls into that category, but his age is a factor. That is a huge salary to be giving out. And if someone like Cole Palmer, who obviously can occupy the same position, is a lot younger, is a Manchester boy, a United fan, and if he was to become available, then that would... I mean, I know what John says about, United fans wouldn't necessarily want to see Bruno Fernandes going, but if it was Bruno Fernandes going and Cole Palmer coming in, that's a pretty good solution to that issue.
What do you make of the story, obviously from Luckhurst? I thought it was an interesting one simply because Luckhurst normally hates us, and it felt like I'm not saying a positive story, but normally it would be, United are delusional, they think they can get this player. Would you be happy with that move if Bruno was to leave? Do you think a Palmer would be the right type of replacement?
Well, first and foremost, it's a load of shit, isn't it? And secondly, what he did this in the Manchester Evening News as well. He's got this. I've got to give him credit, which is a rarity. He's got this art of taking a story that somebody else broke a few days ago, rehashing it, and then this literally came out on Thursday. Like, it's already been out, and he's added nothing to it. Like, Cole Palmer is homesick and wants to come back to Manchester and would like to sign for Man United, was the story on Thursday. And Matt Law in the Telegraph refuted it on the Friday. And he's just rehashed the story on a Monday morning. And look, I think it's sad that Sky Sports is discussing an article in The Sun. And I'm sure a lot of Liverpool fans would agree with me for different reasons, but it's a shit paper when it comes to football news. It always has been. I used to do a paper round 30 years ago, and I wouldn't read the back of The Sun. It was wank. It would like, Man United are going to sign Batistuta, and you'd go, no, they're not. And you'd go and pick up the Times or something like that. So look, it's a load of shit. But in the hypothetical world that maybe there's something in it, we need to keep Bruno. If Bruno decides to go, you do need somebody. And I think Cole Palmer's a fantastic player. But where are Man United going to pull £150 million from when they need to spend it on the midfield as well? So financially, I don't think we can afford it. Chelsea, why would they sell him? Even if they did sell him, you'd want massive money for it. I mean, look, if you want a player in that position, a more gettable player is Morgan Rogers. So that, I don't know why we're being linked to Cole Palmer is, I don't get it really. But look, obviously I think he's a fantastic player, but I just can't believe this story has just come out again, because it's just the same one from last week. And I think in the real world, you just feel, I always feel cheap when you start talking about these sort of things, because you know it's bullshit.
Yeah, I just thought, for me, it was an interesting one, because I kind of like watching the Chelsea fans go, I'm not bothered by it. But we had a guy in our group chat, Don, who said, this is just nonsense. Nothing's going to happen. But then proceeded to write 36 different messages in the group chat saying why. So I kind of enjoy that part a little bit. But yeah, Luckhurst, as I said, this is probably Luckhurst setting United fans up for failure. He'll put this out and then go, but United failed to get him. And I was trying to explain to a few Chelsea fans, like, he hates us with a passion, Luckhurst. So I never trust what he says in any direction. But of course, I wanted to get your take on that today. And we've got...
Well, look, there's a good comment here from Duncan, and it's a fair point. And he said, look, if Chelsea were up for this, you'd have to be very worried considering what they sold us with Mount at 24. Maybe they know something we don't know. So
that's also it. Like, his injuries have worried me. As a player, brilliant. Look, we're never replacing Bruno Fernandes' creativity, in my view. He is maybe the best creative midfielder of this generation, maybe just behind Kevin De Bruyne as an example. So I don't think we should be looking like for like, because it's going to be hard. I think we need to look for something different in relation to that moving forward. But yeah, I wouldn't spend £150 million on Palmer, though. Again, I don't think...
He's had 4 injuries this season.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop that amount of money on him personally. A little bit of fun before we leave, Mark. I want to play this for you. Make sure you're all listening, but this is about Tottenham winning the league next year. A massive take from a Tottenham fan, and
controversial, but I genuinely believe Spurs can win the league next year. A few tactical tweaks and some big signings, and I think we can beat the likes of Wrexham week in, week out, and at least gain automatic promotion.
Well, I first heard that, but what's he talking about? And if anybody missed it, we'll play it again. It's great Tottenham banter.
This is going to sound controversial, but I genuinely believe Spurs can win the league next year. A few tactical tweaks and some big signings, and I think we can beat the likes of Wrexham week in, week out, and at least gain automatic promotion.
Love it. I love it. A good bit of banter. I
can't believe they haven't sacked Frank, by the way.
Oh, mate. Him and Slot. I mean, I know Slot won the league last year, so it's a little different. But you just look at both the teams, the way they're playing, the lack of invention. It's crazy. 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 Look, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in this morning. A big shout out to everyone who's hit the like button so far. Get that done before you leave. United stand back at 2 p.m. today. Get yourselves across Sport Beth and the team over there. We're live at 3:30 for Straight Facts with LB and E. Gale. Plus, United stand back at 8 p.m. tonight. Mr. Goldbridge, I'm sure will be on. If you are watching from the United stand, I know a lot of you tune in. I'm back on Friday, 8 p.m. Best show of the week on the United stand. The truth is spoken when I'm on. Yeah, it's not true. It's not true. Get a lot of stick.
You got to believe. You got to believe. You know, you got to have a dream.
Fake it until you make it, my nan used to say. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Goodbye.